Are you desiring more out of life? More love, more connection, more experience, just more aliveness? Well, that is your soul calling you, and together we are going to uncover those soul desires and help you bridge the gap between your physical life and your true soul self. Welcome to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. My name is Emilee. I'm an intuitive, a psychic medium, and someone who recently and very suddenly awakened to spirituality. On this podcast, we are going to talk all about connecting with your soul to live your fullest, most beautiful life. We're going to talk about spirituality from the perspective of the everyday person. It's my goal that you feel seen and supported on this journey of discovering your soul and awakening to the incredible world of spirit. Let's get started. Hi there, my friends, and welcome back to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. It's Emilee, your host, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. Today's topic is going to be so good, and I know I say that every week, but honestly, all of the things we're talking about here on the podcast are all things that have been so incredibly just life-changing for me. Just those aha moments where your whole world shifts. I feel like I have those moments every stinking day, and I'm just really happy to get to share these insights with you and hopefully spark some new knowledge within you or spark some new inspiration within you. Today, what we're talking about is this concept of evolve or repeat, which I don't know where I first heard this, but it has been the background on my phone for over a year now. And I'm going to explain what I mean by evolve or repeat. I'm going to talk to you today about repeating patterns that we experience in our lives, about the need to evolve through our lives in order to grow, about the invitations we receive to evolve, and what it means to evolve as a person, as a soul, as someone on this journey through life. I'm going to talk a little bit about why we are met with repeating challenges in our life. And I'm going to share this with you from my own experience, because I find that I really learn well through hearing other people's experiences. And so hopefully my experience, you're able to relate it to you. You might not have the exact same experience as me, but maybe hearing the process, my thought process through this, the way that I am working through this repeating pattern in my life, maybe hearing that will help you kind of apply it to your own life. And it just kind of feels like the easiest way for me to explain our topic today. Before we dive into everything, just want to say, hey, I'm Emilee. If we haven't met before, welcome to the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast. We talk all about soul awakening. I share the messages I've been receiving from Spirit in my channeling, in the readings that I do for other people. I share the potent messages that I receive that help me to feel more spiritually connected and more humanity connected, because all of us are both soul and human. We're here for both a spiritual experience and a human experience, and those experiences are meant to grow at the same rate. They're meant to grow together, and the more we enhance that spiritual connection, the more we focus on the inner work and our own emotional growth and well-being, the more that we do that, the more we get to grow in humanity, in our connection with other people, in our experience of the world, in being able to see the beauty and miracle that we get to live in this lifetime. And through this podcast, I'm sharing all that I'm learning on this journey. It's called Suddenly Spiritual because I have become suddenly spiritual. My path to spirituality was rapid, unexpected, very shocking, very uncomfortable most of the time. And you can hear all about that journey if you go back to the first episode of the podcast where I share a little bit about my own spiritual awakening. And for people who are returning, thank you for coming again to listen to the podcast. I am just so happy that you're here to listen to another episode and hear a little more spiritual guidance and teaching that I've been receiving that I'm so happy to get to share with you, because the messages that I receive, the understandings that I receive, I really do not feel like it's just for me, because the messages that come through from spirit are so beautiful and they're just so life-changing for me. There's no way that I'm supposed to be the only one receiving these messages. So I'm just so happy that you're here to receive them too. And just like in every episode, I really hope that I'm able to speak this message in a way that really connects with you, that connects with your heart, so you can feel it in your soul and you can go about your life feeling this connection and hopefully able to integrate this message into your life, or at least it'll give you a little bit of a new perspective as you look at your life and as you survey your life. Like I said, today we're talking about repeating patterns in our life. And so I hope that by the end of this episode, you'll be able to kind of take a step back, look at your life, see what repeating patterns that you have, whether it's in career, money, relationships, whatever it is that just keeps coming up. And you're like, oh my God, again? This again, this feeling again, this experience again? Why does this keep happening? I hope you're able to identify those things in your life, and that today's episode will give you a little context into why that keeps happening. And it will help you to go deeper to discover specific for you why this is happening and what you can do to evolve from that point to step out of that repeating pattern and into your next level of amazing, beautiful, incredible soul life that you are meant to live. So let's get started. Like I said, today we're talking about evolve or repeat. That is the title of the episode. That's been the background of my phone for, I don't even know, like more than a year probably. Because when I first read that phrase, evolve or repeat, it was just like kind of like a slap in the face, to be honest. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty potent. It's pretty like, take responsibility. Come on, like get moving. And sometimes I really need that kick in the butt to move forward in my life. So what does this mean? Evolve or repeat? What I mean when I say this is, when we're faced with these repeating patterns, with these scenarios in our life that keep coming to us, the reason they keep coming to us is because we have an opportunity to evolve through this situation, to change, to grow. And the situation, the scenario, the experience keeps coming to us because the universe keeps bringing us opportunities for that growth. If there is something within us that needs healed, the universe is going to keep showing it to us, keep bringing it to the forefront so that we can heal it. So these repeating situations are not us being picked on by the world or picked on by the universe. It's us being shown the areas of our life where we need healing, where we can grow, where we're being asked to step into a new, evolved version of ourselves. It's saying, all right, it's time for the next level. It's time for you to do the work so that you can move forward and move on to this next version of you and of your experience of the world. And when we talk about evolving and evolving past these repeating scenarios, it's not just about making external or physical changes, but it's about making internal changes in how we view ourselves. And it is almost always related to self-worth, related to that inner love that we talk about so much on this podcast. But truly, self-worth, self-love, it's at the root of just everything. And no matter how much I try to get away from that, spirit just takes me right back every single time. So No surprise if you've been listening along to the podcast for a while, but at the root of this is that self-worth, that self-love, that self-acceptance that we are always working towards and working on deepening. I want to explain this concept of repeating patterns to you through my own life experience and through a repeating scenario that has just like been nonstop in my life. I am still working on healing this and on moving beyond it. So I'm going to share this with you from my own personal experience. And like I said, maybe you have a similar experience. Maybe your experience is something totally different, but hopefully by hearing my story and how I'm explaining how I am working through this pattern, I hope that helps you with whatever specific repeating patterns you have in your own life. So I have this pattern, this scenario that continuously comes up in my life. And it is that I have a habit of overworking myself and becoming incredibly overwhelmed, incredibly stressed out, to the point where I have panic attacks, to the point where I am just so burnt out that I cannot handle life. It's not healthy. This isn't some like humble brag that you do in an interview where someone says, "What's your weakness?" And you respond with, "I just love to work too much." No, this isn't something cute that I'm trying to tell you about. This is a real issue that I've had in my life that has led to some very serious unwellness in me, to some situations where I have been very unwell, both mentally and physically, because of this tendency to overwork, to take on too much. And it has been there my whole life. And I'm going to give you some examples of how this looked throughout my life. When I was in college, I was a double major and I had 5 jobs at the same time, literally 5. I was also planning my wedding. It was overworking to the max. Plus, I was in clubs. There was no minute I had free in the day. It was overwhelming and stressful. And that was a scenario I created myself because I did not need to do 2 majors. I didn't need to join all the clubs. I didn't need to take on all of these jobs. But it was a choice that I made. I didn't think of it as my own choice at the time. Actually, I was really proud of myself at the time for doing so many things. But the truth is, it was too much. Later on in my life, after I had my first child, I was working full time, more than full time. Well, my husband traveled a lot. I've talked on the podcast. If you've listened before, you may have heard me mention my husband travels anywhere from 4 to 8 months out of the year. And after I had our first child, my son, that schedule for my husband didn't change. And so I was trying to work so hard at my job. I was going in early, the first person there. I was working evenings, I was working weekends, and also I was a first-time mom. And I was trying to care for my first child completely on my own. This was one of the most difficult times of my life. I will not lie to you. It was so hard. And again, this is a scenario that I created for myself. It led me into a depression. It led me into extreme anxiety because I could not stop overworking myself. I recreated this so many times. I don't know if I want to if I want to go over all the times I recreated this because I don't know how much of this story you want to hear, but I'll keep it quick. I finally quit my job so I could stay home with my son. And I thought, okay, I've made the physical changes in my life so that I will no longer feel stressed out. I will no longer feel overwhelmed. Now my only job is to care for my son. Except for then I created the stress, the overworking all over again. It turns out it wasn't just this external job creating my stress. It was me, because then I decided to build a business that required all of my time. I became so stressed out trying to manage being a stay-at-home mom and building this business that required more time than I was able to give. And time went on. I had more kids. I sold that business and I thought, okay, I'm going to just be here home with my children. And that is it. and I'm not going to feel all this external stress. I'm not going to feel all of this overwhelm, except for I created it again by continuously overworking myself, over scheduling myself. I would create, I still do. This is where I am now. These insane to-do lists and these insane expectations for what I needed to accomplish every single day. And when I didn't accomplish all those things, I would feel really shitty about myself. I would feel like a failure, feel like a bad mom, feel like a bad spouse, feel lazy, feel so terrible about myself. And so finally, I am at the point where I'm looking back at my life. I see this pattern repeating over and over and over again. I see how it has led me to some very unhealthy physical reactions in my body, with having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. It's led me to depression. It's led me to feeling like shit. So why? Why does this keep happening? And if you have a pattern that is happening over and over in your life, the way to resolve it is not going to be just changing your physical reality. I thought that if I quit my job, if I sold my business, that I would no longer feel the stress. I would no longer feel overwhelmed. I would no longer feel so overworked. But what I learned is that it wasn't those external things creating those feelings within me. It was me creating those feelings within me. And so the external changes were like a band-aid. It helped for a couple months. And then I just built back up the same stressful situation in a new way. I found a new way to return back to this. So you have to ask yourself, what is beneath this? What is beneath this? Why am I constantly recreating this same scenario? And for you, it may be that you continuously have poor relationships. You keep creating the same partner that's just not a good match for you. Maybe for you, it's your career. You keep hitting ceilings or roofs or whatever you want to call it in your career, and you just can't break through to the next level. Maybe you keep recreating difficult friendship dynamics. Whatever it is in your life, there's something that's been repeating. And you have to ask yourself, why am I constantly recreating this? And you have to go deep with that question. You have to go deep. My first instinct over all of these years has always been to blame my external situation for my internal feelings. But the truth is, what Spirit keeps bringing me back to, keeps putting straight in my face, is that my external experiences are just a mirror for what I'm feeling inside. Changing my external situation is just a band-aid if I don't fix what's going on inside, because what's going on inside is going to project out and create my reality. My reality is based on these internal feelings. And so the situations I'm continuously recreating are just a mirror for what is happening within me. So once I started digging deep into where this was coming from, why do I keep recreating this scenario in my life? Why do I keep returning to feeling so stressed out and overwhelmed and overworked? Once I got through the layers, on top of that layer, it's like, well, I just like to be busy. No, you have to go deeper than that. I had to go deeper than that. I had to recognize that that was just kind of a bullshit answer that allowed me to deflect away from the true feelings. So once I dug deeper and said, no, why, and kept going deeper, what I came to the realization is that I have a very strong internal belief that my worthiness, my lovability is deeply connected to my productivity. And so the more productive I am, the harder I work, the more lovable I am, the more worthy I am of receiving other people's love. It is all based in this deep-rooted belief that I need to work hard to prove that I am worthy. And what Spirit is constantly bringing to me is that worthiness is not earned. That love, that internal love, that worthiness, it's not anything that we can earn. It is something that is inherent in who we are. And that's my lesson. That's my lesson for me. But that is what is at the root of that repeating pattern is Spirit keeps showing me, keeps bringing me this mirror saying, no, you are attaching your self-worth to this external thing when it's not attached to anything external. It is inherent in who you are. You are lovable because you are. You are love. This is not just, that message is not just for me. That message is for you. You are love. You are worthy by being alive. And worthiness is actually just a human concept because in spirit, there's no question of anyone's worthiness. There's nothing that's more worthy than something else. Everything, everyone is just pure love. There's no question if something is worthy or not. And this concept of worthiness is part of our humanness. This is part of our cultural and societal upbringing that has taught us that we need to be worthy of things. Well, Spirit is coming in saying that there isn't even a thing as worthiness. You just are. You are love. You get to experience love because you are love. You get to experience the beauty of the world because you are beautiful. You get to have whatever you want because you are expansive eternity within you. Like you are the universe. Everything is within you. So repeating patterns, back to this concept of situations and scenarios that repeat over and over again in our lives. I just want to emphasize to you that these are mirrors and these are opportunities that Spirit is bringing to us of situations and beliefs and perceptions that we can heal internally. And of course, there will be external changes as we evolve from these situations. But the real work is inside. The real work, the real evolution is inside, and it's in our perceptions. It's in our beliefs about ourselves, and truly for probably any repeating situation in your life that you want to evolve out of, at the root of that is probably a need for deeper self-love, deeper self-acceptance, because that is truly just at the root of everything and at the root of everything that we want to experience in this world. It all comes from this internal worthiness, this internal love. And once we bring that internal love higher and higher and higher, then that is what is reflected in our reality. So that's my message for today. That is evolve or repeat. It's always our choice. Do we want to evolve out of this situation or do we want to repeat the same scenario again? And that evolution, it comes from within, and Spirit is there to guide you through, to support you through, to lead you through that evolution. But it is a bit of work. Like I said, with the scenario I shared, I'm still working through. I'm making improvements. I can at least now see when I am falling back into the same pattern. And that recognition is allowing me to consciously decide to live my life differently. It is showing me, okay, I haven't fully healed this feeling. I haven't fully resolved this belief yet. This is coming up again as a mirror to show me I need to go deeper. And if you are able to look at the challenges that come up repeatedly in your life as a mirror and as an opportunity to improve, you will find that your life changes. You no longer are a victim to the situations that come to you, but you are being brought opportunities that empower you to evolve. And you are capable. You are capable. You have it all within you, everything you need to meet these challenges and to continue to grow and evolve as a soul and as a beautiful human on this earth and in this experience. I hope that today's episode is helpful for you on your spiritual journey. I hope that you can relate to me sharing my own personal journey, and maybe you have the same struggle, maybe you have a different repeating pattern. Whatever it is, I hope that you're able to relate to me sharing my situation and able to apply it to your own life to help you move forward and evolve through this lifetime. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will chat with you again next week, my friend. Goodbye. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Suddenly Spiritual podcast. I'm so grateful that I get to be part of your journey of spiritual expansion. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts. It's a quick, free, easy way for you to support this podcast, and it helps me reach more people who are looking for support on their spiritual journey. You can find a link to leave a review in the show notes. Thank you so much, and I'll chat with you soon.